think one of the things is, also having a life in the advertising industry and working for major corporations, both internal and external, and raising these issues back in the early 80s and how they respond to that is quite interesting. So one of the things you're dealing with is behavioral economics. And when you look at history, I think, they studied nearly up to 100 major civilizations in the past. The average life expectancy was 336 years before failure. One of the shocking things about that was that what they found in archaeology is that while people knew that civilizations were failing, they did not change. They did not do anything to alter the outcome. And so one of the things we've learned from history is that it takes a very different approach in relationship to creating change than what's happened right through history.
What do you think that, I mean, that's a really interesting point, right? What does that, if we know that civilizations fail over a certain period of time and that typically humans just can't adjust, even though they know we're in trouble, we're going away.
Yeah.
How does that inform modern civilization potentially in terms of, are we just condemned to the failure, or what's your thinking?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things is understanding, particularly behavioral economics is, if you take the majority, most changes in the world happen at grassroots, but if you take the majority of people, they feel that this solution is way beyond their power control.
Right.
Sure, they'll put solar panels on and they'll do a few things, right? But it's not really dramatically changing. Like you said, if you study the electric car and look at its life cycle, it causes more problems than it solves, right? There's no solutions there. But people will sort of do those things, but they feel it's just totally out of their reach. The issue is too big. And it's like, people look to governments and say, oh, well, you need to solve this problem. And unfortunately, governments are fairly incompetent at doing this sort of thing, plus compromised.
As I'm listening to you, it harkens back to what Maya said about the sort of bifurcation and also the sort of shift to more native cultures. They didn't go away; they stuck around, right? While certain civilizations came and went, there was sort of this underlying presence of something that actually endured. And so, as I'm listening to you, and then coming back to Maya's point, is there a potential, because we are the one civilization that understands that. Not only do we understand that these are the patterns of civilizations, but we also understand that there's one thing that has remained throughout these ups and downs. Can we bring that into our consciousness at a level?
Yeah, I understand the question. I think, one of the main things is that, but Mr. Fuller, I think, nailed it on the head, right? Don't try and change the existing system, right? You never will. What you got to do is build a totally new one, and which makes the old one obsolete. So you need proof of concept. You need to be able to develop a model, or what I call a petri dish experiment, right? Where you can clearly show that people can make more money, work less, and have a better life. It's like anyone can talk about mobile phones, but people don't know how to build them. It's like movies, people don't know. They watch TV all the time, but if you ask them to do a blockbuster movie, they'd have no idea how to do it. But, when the iPhone came out, everyone just jumped at it and went, yeah, that's what I want. So one of the key factors is you can talk about a lot of it. It won't change anything because of behavioral economics. What you've got to do is actually show them. So if, Henry Ford went around and asked people what they needed, they say a faster horse.
So the one question I have is, you said making more money. That's the one place that I got triggered a little again, kind of going, is it actually, like back to our youth, Adrian and Dan, does that have the same motivating thing that it has to those of us who've been caught in the machine for, or is there some?
I understand your question. Yeah, absolutely. You look at the moment. I remember a guy in India once saying, he's very poor and starving. And he said, look, I'll do anything you want as long as I've got a full stomach and water. But when I'm starving, I don't care about anything else. And so when you look at the inflation that's going on at the moment, which of course is manufactured around the world, and energy that was going up 4 times in costs and stuff, like in Holland, I think, and around the place, people start not to be worried about things like climate change. They're worried about day-to-day survival. So you have a distraction. And then if you can clearly show a model, like I said, even small, doesn't have to go over a country. It can just be, like a little sort of suburb size or something like that. And you can demonstrate that people are actually have got more time, making more money. Sure, that'll attract people. I'll put the hand up and say we want that.